with at least the main guy in this group, the kind of person who's like rotting and dying in his flesh and has some sort of like cursed flesh wings coming out of his back, is very much you guys have come in contact with demons inside of this house. This is effectively a demon spawn. This is some human who has given their body over to a demon entering this world. I don't have the name of the group on hand, but I'm pretty sure it's the Knights of the Cord who shut down the Pythones house previously. And I think it's safe to say that this is 100% not Knights of the Cord.
Okay, so Malton, I think you were right to assume that this is like a lay in wait ambush of cults. Is that the only guy that like right away we notice has wings?
Yes.
So I guess the real question is, do we want to combat or do we want to run?
To be honest, it's looking kind of rough. I feel like running. Do you have that like open uh, space in the wall on the third floor we could jump out of on the back side? Hopefully, there's no one there.
That might not be a bad idea. There's not much benefit of us fighting right now. Even if we did win, we're pretty well loaded up with gear, and we got what we were looking for. Maybe we should take advantage of this time and try to get the hell out of here.
So you all can certainly return inside of the house, going back down the level that you're at, crossing back over to the east side of that entryway, going down a level, heading out into effectively that like art room on the second level of the house. You could take the iron staircase back up to the third level and head into that open section where the balcony had basically fallen off the backside of the house.
Yeah, that all sounds pretty good.
Gotcha. So, if that sounds like the plan, you have effectively the separation between the Rivergate district and Old Town between you is the like Kings River. I can't think exactly what it's called, but I'm pretty sure it's the Kings River there. But you're essentially like inside of that gorge here. So if you look, the Pythonese house is actually right where it says Old Gate City. There's like one green block to the left of that, which is the Pythonese house. So you're right next to that actual bridge that crosses the Kings River Gorge. You could kind of like you could jump over that back gate and go for like Emmett Street and make a decision like whether you want to head down Emperor's Road and just kind of like blend into Old Town, or whether you wanted to like try to leave the city through that gate and get like out and away as soon as possible. You've got a lot of options. You could cross into Rivers Gate from Crossing Street or Vacro. You know, those are options as well. But I think for the first thing, getting around the cast iron gate that holds in like this whole like lawn of the Pythonese house. Probably just stealth checks from the two. I don't see any reason to put disadvantage on you for your armors at this point. It's realistically they expect you to leave that front way. It's just kind of a general roll to see if both of you roll horribly bad, something will happen.
Who's got the key on him right now?
This is going to be where we still have Dalton has it.
Okay, so he'll have disadvantage.
Yeah, I mean, he's like super foobar right now. He's got like quad levels of exhaustion.
So I got dirty 20 for Jinx.
I got a nat
That's what
one.
really mattered though. Yep. That one was kind of inevitable. And Dalton's got a 13. So a 1, 20, and 13 is a 19. But his is technically disadvantage. 15. Yeah. So Malchin, do you imagine you are leaving the exit first, last, in the middle of the group? Where do you think inside of this marching order is Malchin heading out of this like hole in the back of Epiphany's house, where that like balcony is fallen off?
That's a good question. Uh, I honestly think he would have gone first. Dalton is like exhausted.
Gotcha. Just to like basically be next to Dalton with a chance to catch him if he were to fall,
Yeah, basically.
and ask Jinx to go last.
Yeah, probably would have.
Sound viable to you there, Jinx?
Oh, of course. I've been known to take up the rear. Oh, wait. No, that's not what I meant. I'll go last.
Alrighty. So as you go to leave and sneak out the back, um, you are going to hear a yell from up front. And let me get a perception from both of you to hear what you're going to pick up from it. I'm just going to say that Dalton is not a potential like listener in this one. So solid from Malchin. Jinx now roll the one.
A natural one for a total of 4.
Yeah, and I got a total of 25.
So when you go to leave that back through that little back section, um, you're going to hear from the front of the house as one of these figures kind of yells off that they're escaping through the back. Basically kind of giving an order for the others to start to like flank around that building. You're going to pick up as soon as you kind of like hear this as an order just kind of given out in far clearer terms. You're going to hear in your head, you seem familiar. You flee the night of dissolution. Are we not brothers? Give us the weapons of chaos. And this is just kind of within the first few moments of like you, like, you know, if you're going to rappel out of the balcony, like you kind of like stepping back and putting your weight on the rope. If you're just kind of like doing like a pull up almost where you're jumping down to your arms and then you're going to kind of let yourself off with your arms fully extended. It's like right as you leave the house, you kind of hear this yell and then you hear the voice inside of your head. What are you thinking there, Malchin?
Well, I'm thinking we gotta go quickly. Probably would like half shouted back at up them. Gotta get a move on. They know we're escaping through the back.
All right, so you know Dalton is moving like molasses right now. If you now have a sense of urgency, what do you guys have in mind? You're, getting out of the house. You're then about 15 feet from the cast iron fencing. And, the fencing's maybe 6 or 8 feet tall. It's no effort to really climb over, but it is something that you have to climb. And then you're on the street of the north or of Old Town. But what are you thinking? You now have effectively a chase behind you. So, what can you guys do to uh, add to your ability to escape this versus just random people coming after you?
So my plan, when the time is right, and this may be it, or maybe just a little bit later, is to cast invisibility on Justin or on
On Dalton.
yeah, and then I want to do a um the like split and actually do it on like two of us.
Gotcha. With your sorcery points.
Yeah, I could use like the meta magic to split it and spend 2 sorcery points to make a level 2 spell affect 2 people. So it would be 1 hour for 2 people.
Invisibility is concentration, isn't it?
It is concentration, and if you make an attack, you lose it also.
Gotcha. I actually wonder if that counts as 2 spells to concentrate on, or if it's single. Will you just roll a d6 here? 4, 5, or 6 today. You can play it. 1, 2, or 3. We play that actually limits your concentration. Gotcha. So rock it out today. I want to actually figure that one out. I'm sorry I didn't do this in the future because I think we've talked about this. But this is the first time it actually dawned on me that that's almost like having 2 concentration spells. So now wouldn't necessarily be a bad time to do it. It's just the question of when you feel like you're busted. Do you want to isolate down to one person has to get away, and the other two probably can get away with ease? Or do you want to like just bring it up now and wait to play your cards? I think that's purely up to you about when you want to do it. But theoretically, if you wanted to at least like tell Malchin that that's the plan, now's the time. I think it makes sense that Dalton is 100% one of those people because he is functionally useless right now.
Oh yeah, we were actually talking about it a bit while you were in the other room. We were kind of like game planning and stuff.
Oh, I meant more like, do you want to role play talking about it? Had he actually had any thoughts about, like, are you going to do it to Dalton and Malchin? Are you going to do it to Dalton yourself?
Well, it makes the most sense to do it to myself because it's concentration. So obviously, I don't want to get hit because I'm trying to keep Dalton alive. Is really what it is. So I would do a bardic inspiration on Malchin, and then would cast the invisibility and then twin spell it to affect Dalton and myself. I think now's the time, brother. And I think depending on how far the drop is, if Dalton would have to use the gloves or not to get down.
Yeah, I mean, I think the gloves are the safest way for him to get down. I think he has them on, and there's no reason not to try them versus actually attempting to climb. seems extremely low, but he's at 13 max hit points and 9 hit points right now. That seems absolutely insane.
Oh well, I think his max hit points got drained.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah,
All right,
so I
Jason.
definitely think it's worth him using the gloves.
Yeah. So do you want one of us to roll for the gloves to make sure they don't break?
That's fine. You can roll for them, and I will not.
Okay, 11.
Next.
So they're good.
So yeah, Malchin climbs out. You hear this call. Jinx and Dalton go invisible. Dalton somewhat quietly like climbs out with the gloves as he just kind of attaches himself and has a lot more ability to kind of hang from them as like his body almost becomes like gravitationally neutral as he kind of climbs down here. And then it's up to you, Jinx. I don't know what your kind of like telltale of when the climb would be since he's now invisible. But you can certainly just kind of wait a few moments. Perhaps Dalton calls out to you. I've reached the bottom. You're safe to follow.
All right, Jinx coming in hot. How big is the drop here?
I think you're looking at like 20 feet. So if you like hung down from the top, it's like 10. I think theoretically, you could probably like loop the rope that you guys have around a few of the bodies because that's one of the places where you fought the rat guys with the guns and those like rat like mounts that they had. So you could kind of like use some of those bodies as a bit of a like loop. So you could hang down on the rope and then pull one side out from under them.
I don't have any rope, so I'm gonna just grab one of the bodies and drag it over to the edge, and then I'm gonna try to like ride the body to the ground acrobatically, sort of like a meat blanket. No, like a meat barrier between me and the ground.
Mountain, do you have rope?
No, sadly, I think we left our rope as we climbed up from the like away from the Hydra.
Yeah, the fact that you guys all say that you left it, I'm gonna say sure, you can leave your rope behind. Jinx, when you leap out and try to use a body as a meat blanket, you are gonna take 2d10 divided by half damage as you fall 20 feet and try to use a body to suppress the damage. So if you would be so kind, roll 2d10. Dear Lord,
It's
you're gonna
16.
take you're gonna take 8 damage as you leap out of there. And then you have to take a concentration check. Is it an advantage when you do stupid things with a warcaster?
I live my life
Okay.
on the extremes. It's a 20 and a 1.
Yeah, that's absolutely insane right there. But yeah, you can leap out. They all see as this like body kind of like floats limply up to the balcony, and you just kind of hear like a little bit of a cowabunga kind of thing from Jinx before you leap out and try to use a body as a crash cushion, and they watch as it just kind of cracks and splats, and there's not going to be like a whole lot of extra like blood from it as the blood's coagulating in that person. They're only getting kind of stiffer and deader. But you're going to break a lot of extra bones. There's definitely going to be organs that get pierced, and that body is definitely getting abused by you leaping on top of it. I don't see any reason why that should or shouldn't help you maintain your invisibility. But I'm gonna go with the idea that there's probably a little bit of blood on you somewhere, but probably not enough that people can really notice. But like, if somebody were really looking close, like Mauchin, who's incredibly observant, he can probably make your outline as there's little bits of blood, kind of like splattered on you, almost like gritty kind of sand right now. It's not like that the blood's sandy, but just kind of how wet sand kind of clings to stuff. This like the platelets are becoming more solid than liquid. It's almost like liver. But yeah, you've made it out of the back of the house. I'm gonna say most of these guys who are kind of moving around are still quite a distance away. If you guys want to decide what is your next mode of escape. Um, Given that Dalton moves slowly, do you guys have a plan? Are Jinx and Dalton going one way and Malchin's going to go another? Is Malchin going to try to stick with like um or is Jinx and Dalton going to stick together? Or all three of you sticking together? What's your kind of plan as it's now Malchin who's visibly at the back of the house?
I guess it makes sense for us to stay like relatively close to each other. But I'm gonna stay with Dalton for sure. So maybe me and Dalton will make a straight move for the fence, like just straight north here, and then have Malchin maybe like kind of veer off like away from them. How far can Dalton actually move right now? Is it like 15?
He's half movement, so he's like realistically 15, yeah. And what are you doing, Malchin?
Yeah. What am I doing? Well, with them invisible, he's probably gonna just go. I'm gonna try to keep their eyes on me, and he's basically gonna go and run like diagonally to the right. How is it? If I dash, can I still climb the wall? Will it count as an action to try to climb it?
You could take the dash action and still be climbing. Climbing is technically a movement, and that's why it's like difficult terrain to get there. There's particular climbs that I would take actions for, but in general, climbing is just movement. So, how diagonally do you want to go? Do you want to count your spaces and move to there? Or are you just thinking in general, you're like running for the corner of the fencing?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna try to run for the corner, so I'm not gonna get over on this turn. I'm gonna dash and like get as close as I can. So probably there so that like they have eyes on me.
Trying to think here. I've got two of the demon names written down. Is the demon that you are now coming to terms with having inhabiting you Desramal? Okay, perfect. Um, you are going to hear the voice in your head again. Where are you fleeing to? The weapons. We don't wish to harm you. You've liberated what we've waited long to feel. You've brought. Come back. Does that change any of your movements there, Machin?
No, probably not. Still thinking of like paint the target on me and try to run away.
All right. So probably aware enough that you would see that while the first impression doesn't necessarily leave people like dashing towards you guys, they are indeed following you. But by the time you kind of like bust out from the side of the building and kind of catch a few of them a little bit at unawares, the one with the actual wings is going to kind of like pick up and flies out a little bit further in front of the others as he takes to flight. He's out moving those who are still kind of traveling on legs. And I believe I need you to make a charisma saving throw, please.
Yeah, I'm gonna use my inspiration on that to get advantage.
Excellent.
I need that. That's a 15.
I know somewhere I have his DC. Sadly, 14 is the magic number, son of a bitch. You just hear inside of your head, "Halt." And there's just a like supremely compelling moment where you think about stopping with all of the alacrity that you've moved towards this fence and have sprinted across this grass. You hear this halt in your head. For a moment, you almost contemplate it, but you don't. You don't have to. Mhm. You have more pressing things ahead of you. But for now, it's gonna kind of get to you guys again, where you've got one more chance here. I assume Jinx and Dalton are going to climb over the fence. Are you going to aid him, or are you going to instruct Dalton to use the gloves again to sort of make sure that he does it with ease?
Oh, I think gloves are the way to go.
Gotcha. So you're probably getting like the first sense of like there's guys coming around the corner from the west. You see the one who's already flying, kind of moving around here from the east there, but you can kind of see like they're coming through, but like attention is on Malchin. So you guys pretty much can kind of move slow and do your thing. You're kind of like covering that ground perfectly fine there. But do you have any other thoughts about what you two might be doing other than just kind of like trying to remain silent and just kind of make your way?
Damn, I think I'm gonna mess up with this invisibility. So wait, are we over the fence now then? Like, do we have to check for that? I did a 4 for him to use the gloves.
Yeah, with the gloves, he doesn't need to do a check. In general, even though I know your strength isn't superior, moving slow and kind of methodically, I don't think there's any reason to have you check. But it does basically put you guys like over the fence, not really like having gone anywhere. You're just on the opposite side of it.
And then we have like our movement afterwards.
No, that would be his movement basically to cover the fence.
Okay, I got you. So like, could he still dash after that, or is he like used up completely?
Um, Do the gloves have an action economy at all to use them? Isn't it an action to use them?
Oh yeah, it is. It's an action to turn him on. So yeah, he would just have pretty much used it up.
Yeah, so part of what I'm going at is it's like an 8-foot climb up, an 8-foot climb over. You're not really doing much of anything but kind of like covering that 5 foot space. So unless you think of something else that you wanted Jinx to do, Melchin, you've got their attention. You've got like the demonoid, like the dead guy kind of following you. What kind of thoughts are going through your head here?
I'm gonna taunt them a bit, like go, I got your treasures from down below. You're gonna have to work a bit harder if you ever want to see them again. And then I'll dash like over the wall. Right. Just dash out onto the road if I can. Just
Gotcha.
over the
So,
wall.
like many things, if you want that taunt to be anything, it's going to be an action. You won't be able to dash. Are you just trying to say it, or do you want to actually try to like have some sort of an effect with your taunt?
Oh no, I'm basically just saying it. It's flavor basically.
Gotcha. Yeah. Roll a. Has got a 60-foot fly. I don't think you're getting away from him. Um, roll a wisdom saving throw for me.
And you do still have bardic inspiration too.
Yeah, that's a dirty 20.
Your listen. Your family. Your being is known to me. Take them now. We will find you. Hide within the city. We will destroy it. You have started the night of dissolution. You cannot stop it by holding those weapons from me. When the bell tolls, find us, and you may still have a chance. Until then, go. Good luck. You hear this in your head as he flies up behind you, and some of the people who are on the streets start to scream as they see this demonoid, like dead human, kind of like his body almost like hanging while the wings float and keep him suspended in air. You can almost see like the death of his humanoid flesh is like dragging down against these demonoid wings. You hear him inside of his your head, but you can kind of see as even so his face and his mouth are still moving as the words are kind of spoken through him. And then he kind of recoils back, sort of returns to the others. And for now, guys have gotten far enough away. You feel an odd sense of security, but to what end, it's hard to know. You guys continue walking back, maybe towards the. Had you guys, when we were in the other chat room, had you guys talked about where you were going to meet? Like, are you going to the Delvers Guild? Are you guys going to the Goblin Safe House? Where do you think you're meeting back up with your invisible friends?
We hadn't really talked about it, but I feel like Malshin at least would like go to the Goblin safe house. That's probably where he feels the most secure after this.
So Goblin Safe House is probably further than you can get on the invisibility, unless you like got a taxi or some sort. But had you thought about where you think Jinx would have taken Dalton?
I probably would have said Goblin Safe House, honestly. Um, I do have more spell slots too, but I can't double it up. So I would be able to cast it on Dalton, but not myself.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think overall, like even once one of you was visible, um, I'm not sure which weapons you all were really carrying here, but I feel like you each had some of the bigger items. I feel like Malchin ended up with the spear. Each of the bards ended up with the great sword, or with a great sword, and then Malchin had the long sword, and I think Jinx had the two skulls.
Yeah, that sounds pretty right. So it probably doesn't make much difference either way then.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think Dalton actually had the longsword. So that's
Oh,
what I remember.
Dalton took the long sword? Okay. So you just have the spear.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. So in the long run, I'm gonna say you guys kind of have this to where you are making it back to the Goblin Safe House. Um, long run there. Not necessarily gonna have these people making an overt chase through the city. That's not kind of how they operate. Um, I do think Malchin should have a strange sense of how could they tell? And maybe starting to recognize that having a demon inside of you probably makes you more visible to other people who have those sorts of sights. Um, so I think that's like one thing that you can kind of pick up here, and that you guys might have another group who kind of knows that of you and coming after you. As far as things go, though, this is where you guys can officially take level 6, and it becomes a question of did you actually think of anything downtime wise that you wanted to do as we caught the game back up to what is effectively July 16th? I think you guys have been in the Pythonese house for about 5 weeks now of play, and I think it's been 2 weeks off that we played other games. So we're like at 6 or 7 weeks that you guys have been inside of the Pythonese house, I believe. Yeah, I see 526 looks like when we started it. We did a fawn game with the two of you, I think. And then it looks like five more in the house. So we're basically, you know, 6 weeks of catching up your guys to like real time.
So downtime activities, I would definitely like be going about like trying to sell off a lot of the like loot we found and turn that into cash, and then definitely be doing some gambling and also perhaps some charitable contributions depending how the gambling goes.
Gotcha. So are you looking to sell things off as quick as possible? Are you looking to get ideal prices out of things? How quickly are you trying to make these sales happen?
I would say on the quicker side, I'm looking to get that liquidity.
Gotcha. So Maldras Oddities inside of Delver Square is obviously the main place to go to sell off anything. What in specific do you have for sale?
What do I have for sale? Oh, I got plenty. You just wait. Let me get my list together.
Please do. If you would like, you can place whatever it is that you have for sale on the counter, and I can try to group them up, and we can see what I can pay you for groups as well as perhaps singular items if some things you don't find worthy of my offer, and some that you would like to take some more time to find purchasers for.
I have a feeling we'll be able to work something out here. No problem. And I'm going to do a 128 gold ruby, a 950 gold ruby bracelet, a 750 gold ruby ring, 7 random gems worth 10 gold each. Do you want me to just keep listing it?
I mean, if you've got for right now, those are all like gems and jewelry. That sounds good. If you want to just give me a charm roll, a charisma roll.
Okay, and I have also a candelabra worth 15 gold, uh, and an
Yeah,
80
that's legit. Basically valuable. Um, yeah, it's still gold. You can just like toss that in with the valuable sort of like non-magical. So what's your charisma like? Plus 19?
Now, hold up now. Hang on, it's good. Uh, it's 4 plus 4. So I get a 7.
Gotcha. And then a D100 with that, please.
62.
Uh, these are certainly beautiful objects in their own right. I can certainly find buyers for them. I'm perhaps not the best person for these, but I can pay you, and effectively I will give you an offer of 62% of what all of those, like set values are on those objects. And those are in gold lions, basically rounded up. So, if you want to add all of those up and just multiply it by 0.62, that's what she'll pay in gold lions.
Here's the thing. I've traveled around quite a bit and I understand everybody's got their own hustle and you've got to make money just like the rest of us do. So as far as I'm concerned, that's a fair as offer as I could expect. So yeah, I'll do that. You want me to let you know what the total is?
No, not that big of a deal. Uh, was there anything else? Aren't you a member of the Delvers Guild? Do you have anything? And she like looks around. There's no one else here. Do you have anything special? The nicer stuff? You found anything?
I don't know. Do we know anything about those magical items yet? I kind of wanted to like talk with everybody when Justin was here before I do anything with them.
I mean, overall, yeah, you guys would have time to kind of start to identify, everything. The real question is do you actually take time to like attune to items that you would identify them from use versus I mean, I don't think you guys have a way that's like a way to without risking curses find out what stuff is, unless you wanted to go around actually paying for some sort of a service. But that's probably the biggest thing to keep or prevent you from just attuning on magical items.
Oh, I'm pretty chaotic, so I would say that initially I would think it's a bad idea, but eventually would break down.
Gotcha. So this is perhaps more for, both of you at this point. All of those items in all of those treasure chests were indeed magical objects. I think I have them all added, but I didn't necessarily add them to your characters to try to kind of hide some of the things. So like I think Dalton and Jinx, I added like twinned greatsword from beneath Epiphany's house. That is indeed a twin greatsword. It's a +1. And they are called Sumer and Sulamar. So if you look on D&D Beyond, you should be able to see those specific named swords. And one of you can take Sumer, and the other one can take Sulumor. But effectively, you will basically learn that these great swords deal necrotic damage to lawful creatures. But they also are suppressed. They are non-magical within 30 feet of their brother's sword. So when you two are walking together, those swords are non-magical. When you get 30 feet between you, all of a sudden they become magical. And that's in part why those two are described as having actual like physical damage to their blades, because like unlike most magical items that can't be like really damaged easily, those things you accidentally get too close to one another and all of a sudden it's just metal again. um Dalton has the Antarctic longsword, which does very similar things versus lawful creatures, but instead of necrotic, I think it does psychic damage. The spear is called Zoo Hook. And you can look that up as Spear of Chaos, Zoo Hook. And I believe the spear does. I didn't actually add them into my database. So I think if you just like search real quick, Malchin, you should be able to see. Yeah, just adding ZU, you can see it. And that's when you hit a lawful creature, it has to make a con save or it gets stunned, and that's otherwise a +1 for everything else as well. The Rod of Chaos has a single use. That is Hak Uzu. And I believe that one casts like a 9th level spell, but it's quite literally one use and it turns to dust. You like speak the word, it casts this spell, which normally would affect like demons, but it affects lawful creatures. And then it just turns to ash. Uh, did you say something? And then the last one is the Skull of Chaos, Ada. And that one, I believe, has one use each day. And it casts a spell, but you'd have to add it to see. Damn, I can't think what the spell is, but it does like a like array of like lights that force a dexterity save to try to like look away, I think it is. But it does like radiant or and necrotic damage. But that's just once a day, like a pretty powerful spell that the skull can expend. But that's effectively what the 5/6 items are. I think it's safe for you to recognize that just hawking some of these weapons is probably not a good idea, as the cults are like looking to track them all down. Um, but you are certainly welcome to hawk some of these weapons. Were each of you, Chris and Justin, able to find those, at least that your character is carrying, and take a look at them?
Yeah, managed to find all of them.
What was the name on the skull again?
Odd Ah. Just look up Skull of Chaos. One of the things that I feel it's kind of silly in how like the module is set up is when they ask for the weapons of chaos, 3 of those items are weapons of chaos. The other ones are not, and they specifically want the ones that are of chaos. But
And
there's no way for you to.
what was the cane called?
The cane?
The rod?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
that's like the rod of chaos. Hack, ooze, but rod of chaos is in the name of it as well. I named them in particular because, like many of these things, these chaos cults are bringing like demonic possession into items, in the same way that chaos tech kind of like combines technology and demonic powers. So too do these other objects as well, and that's part of where Malchin might start to gather that his necklace is one of these objects. So, while I at least give you a moment to think about whether Jinx was going to like hawk any of those items that he walked away with, Malchin, had you thought about anything that you were doing with downtime?
Yeah, I'm thinking he's gonna go back to training with the Thieves Guild. And well, here's the thing. I'm actually gonna take like a level in Rogue as well for my level 6. So I was thinking like he's spending like most of his time there just to like learn how to be a rogue and everything.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, as long as you're actually going through the process of adding, like without like learning extra, you are welcome to. What does Rogue actually give you after the fact? Like if you gain the proficiency with a level 1 rogue, um, you don't like have to continue training with it. If you gain the proficiency and you wanted to put it into something else and continue training, you are welcome to do that as well.
Yeah, I think I'm fine with just like putting my points like with a level up, and but I've said like I've trained with them now, so that's how I got it. Even if I take it from the level up. I'm also gonna try to, while I'm at the Thief Skill, I'm not sure if they do that, but try to hawk off some of the like jewels and gold that we found within his house.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I'm sure the Guild has a fence. Um, Probably gonna send you underneath the Delver's Square into the actual kind of undercity market, and I believe you'll find that they've got their jewel fence. I want to say there's actually a jewel shop there, kind of thing. But you can basically get pointed out to and sent to someone who will buy precious objects. What do you have in mind? Do you want to make a like charisma check to see how well the person takes to you? Are you gonna kind of like show there and almost go as like a braggart and try to like do something to make them kind of like you? What kind of thoughts do you have on charming this person? Are you gonna go in there with charisma, or what would you like to make your check in?
Because this always goes well, I'm gonna go with the charisma check.
Gotcha. So yeah, you can just do like a normal persuasion to see how charismatic you can be, how like kindly, and how they kind of favor you in the moment.
Oh, not bad for once. That's a total of 17.
Solid. And roll a D100 for me.
94.
And what do you have in mind to sell?
Oh, I'm just selling like I found a gold necklace, a gold ring, and 2 rubies.
Yeah, I'd say some of these objects are clearly ancient works. I think I can make a pretty penny for these and offer you, and they'll offer you 200% of what I gave you values of them as. So I have a feeling those necklace and the rings are probably like between like 200 and like 500 gold. They're offering you like 800 or like 1600. You know what I mean? Just whatever the values are that I gave you, you can take twice that.
All right, I'll do that.
Jinx, does that give you any other ideas? Are you looking to sell anything else? Or for now, is it just kind of let's hold on to them?
Oh no, I'm not planning on selling any of the items.
Oh, and just
Gotcha.
to clarify, was that for the rubies as well?
Yeah, yeah. Basically, like just the precious non-magical items.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have any other thoughts on do you want to gamble before you think about doing any donations? What kind of gambling do you think?
Yeah, I'll just do like double or nothing on a couple bets.
Gotcha. Yeah, so we could do a D20 game versus um a bet that you have in mind. So what do you want to bet?
Yeah, we'll just do the D20 like high roll wins. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, yeah. What bet do you want to place though? How much do you want to bet?
So for the first one, I'll do 248 gold.
Gotcha.
I got a 6.
Uh roll a percentile.
80.
Gotcha. So you will lose 80% of you said 248, 190 or 198. Do you want to make a second bet?
Yeah, I'm gonna do 300 this time. It's a 12.
And roll another D100.
Forty.
I feel like for ease, we could say you lose 150, but I think it's 147. Do you want to bet again?
Yep, 300 again.
Dear Lord.
Got a 9.
Yeah, I rolled high for all three of those. Roll another D100. Oh, I forgot that it's really just times three. So what is that? 90, 102 two gold lost.
All right, I'll do 350 this time.
There we go. Roll a D100. You said 350?
Yeah.
All right, you can take 826 home from that. My bad. That was doubling it for the crit, and then the 36% over. 826 includes like if you lost your 350. So I feel like I don't know how to say it when you are just getting it. So what is it? Like 350 plus 126 is what you would add if you didn't take away the initial gamble. So 476.
Okay, so I'm at 1526 now. So I'm gonna do another. Let's do 500, and this will be my last one.
A tenner. Let me get a D100. You said 500, so I think that's 200 lost.
All right, I'll just do the other three, and I'll just go all or nothing on this last three. All in on the three.
Gotcha. What do you mean all or nothing? Like instead of the percentile?
Yeah, exactly.
I gotcha. Does that leave you with any desire to donate to charities?
Yeah, I'm gonna do another. Let's see, 1,026. So I'm gonna donate 1,000 gold to charity.
Feel like we've had you donating to the Order of Daira in the past. Are you still supporting that like group of I'm pretty sure they are nuns who keep like care of like the poor and kind of orphan children?
Yeah, Order of Daira, the nuns with guns. That's the ones.
Gotcha. Anything else that you two have in mind?
What is the deal with getting more ammunition for the pistols? Like figuring out how much it costs and if there's like different types or if it's just like blanket.
I think the big thing's gonna end up coming down to um the legality of it. Like, are you registered? I'm pretty sure you do have it. So I think it would make sense that if you have to go to the armory in Old Town, and what's it called? It's the actual it's 60 on that one. Give me 1 second here. Dalengard is the name of the old castle, like it's the old keep in the original Tolis. So you really just have to go to Dalengard to pick up ammunition. I feel like I've seen it said like that ammo's like 5 silver a shot or something. Um, I think that's a solid answer to it. Like, I don't think you should be shooting a gun simply to fire a gun. I think it should have a cost. But in the long run, it shouldn't be that prohibitive. Um, and it's just a question of how many guns do you want to carry, how many reloads do you want to carry, kind of thing.
What was it? The guns only hold one shot each, like at a time.
Yeah, yeah. Dragon pistols are effectively like flintlocks.
Okay, I got you. Well, I only have one bullet right now, and I have two dragon pistols, so I'll buy like five more bullets. or whatever.
Gotcha. Like charges on that level. Basically, you're buying like the gunpowder kind of thing. I don't think the guns have anything set up insofar as like giving them extra shots or like different kinds of shots rather. But I don't think it's far to say that you can't necessarily like create other shots because I feel like one of the regular kind of things was the idea of like, do you put just a single lead ball in there? Do you put 5 lead balls in there that are slightly smaller? Do you want to put in a bunch of just trash and fire just a blunderbuss filled with metal? I think there's definitely a solid reason to say that you might have multiple shots. I'm just not sure that they're created with it in mind. So, until you go out of your way to do something otherwise, I would say you're just getting like the normal single shot. I think that's the D10 damage that they're listed as. Yeah, it looks like they're set up with a D10 for their damage.
So 5 silver a shot. That's 20 shots per gold. Is that right?
No, 2 shots per gold.
Oh, it's okay. So wait. Oh yeah, 10 silver is a gold. Okay. So I need to do for 5 shots. That's two and a
Two and a
half.
half.
Okay, got it. Cool. Oh, how much is it for studded leather armor?
Studded leather, I feel like is 25 or 50 gold. You guys got 10% off. So you could get it for what, like 22 or 45?
Wait, what's 22 or 45? What's the difference?
Oh, my bad. That's me trying to think of the price offhand because I think it's 25 or 50. Um, but it's one of those things where it's just like PHP pricing. I'm just trying to bring it up in my notes program.
Ooh, I'm thinking it's at least like a couple hundred gold for studded leather. Maybe I'm thinking the wrong one. I think it's an upgrade from leather armor.
Yeah, studded leather is not that expensive though. Still a light armor. Studded leather is 45, so it would be basically 41 gold if you wanted to buy some.
So wait, does the leather armor gives me 11 armor class, and then my dex mod adds 3 to that, so I have 14. So does
Yep,
studded
studded leather
have
would give you
12?
one more.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And then technically your dex modifier always works with light armor. So if you got a +5, you would have 17. If you had more than that through other items, you could gain that. Going to medium armor is where you could get something that's a little higher, but you're limited to 2 decks. So like half plate, you could get a 15 AC half plate, but your dex maximum is 2 that adds to that. So you could get up to 17.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I don't really see Jinx in like anything heavier than like leather armor. I mean, like studs I could get with, but I feel like he's a leather man.
The chain shirt is perhaps the other viable thing, but I think you're getting the exact same AC, and that's just flavor. Because the chain shirt is 13 AC, but it maxes out as +2 from your decks. And that's like something where you could wear metal chain like underneath something else. Because other than that, it's breastplate. And I do agree. Jinx rocking out a breastplate and 2 pistols would probably be a little bit too Spanish conquistador. Anything else that Malchin needs to purchase or that you need or have thoughts on? So let me have each of you roll a D100 for me, please.
85.
And then what did Jinx get? Did you roll a 3?
63. No, that was my old one.
Oh my god. I rolled a 64 versus Jinx. So yeah, like overall, much of the rest of this downtime goes kind of like uneventful for you, Jinx, kind of like going under the radar. You don't seem to have like extra tales from like these chaos cults around. Just kind of like much of the time's gonna flow through. Malchin. You, on the other hand, it's not gonna be so seamless. A lot of your downtime is going to be haunted by the voices of different cultists inside of your head, as Desral Mal is not the only thing inside of you telling you to feed, telling you to go into the necropolis, to venture into the oh man, I should have the name of this offhand. The Dark Reliquary, in like the eastern reaches of the necropolis. Uh, you're going to be haunted by Desram. And the question is, I'm gonna ask, is do you fight this new desire to feed? Are you giving into it? What level of coming to terms with you've got something inside of you, you seem to be acting contrary to it? Where are you going at here? What are you going for? What's up with that necklace on you? Are you doing anything to get rid of it? Are you trying to embrace it? Are you killing little children? Trying to kill criminals?
I mean, yeah, I feel like he would try to like resist it. Probably like, but he's fed already. Yeah, he would probably like if he's going out to feed, probably try to take like at least try to pick unsavory types, like people who's obviously like hoodlums or anything like that. Not necessarily he can pick them up properly, but try to.
Gotcha. So you're going to start to notice that there are missing persons flyers going up, and a certain criminal is being sought after. And you're going to start to notice that you have wanted posters. Your desire to try to find a way around this is going to lead to the existence of these wanted posters of bounty hunters who are going to eventually come after you. And this is part of what your group and organization has done in the past. So you almost have a reason to try to influence them away from. I think you guys went to Dalengard to actually pick up some of these wanted posters for bounties. So you're gonna have like a vested interest in trying to keep the group away from these different wanted posters around town. Not everything is posted in Dalengard. Sometimes they make it into the Delver Square. Sometimes they're just in the neighborhoods of where people have gone missing. So when you try to fight it, that's going to be the cost that you're going to pay. Is eventually you're going to find these uh, bounty hunters coming after you, and isolating you, perhaps. And then the other thing is simply that you're having like cult thoughts kind of entering into your head on a regular basis, where you're just kind of like doing your thing and you start to hear chanting. And at first, it starts out as like one voice is speaking to you, and then you hear like a whole group is speaking in unison, and you just hear them calling towards you and calling. But you're basically going to kind of be coming to terms over these like weeks that we're going to be kind of moving past, where you now kind of have an alter ego, a opposite side of yourself that you kind of need to actively keep the rest of the group from encountering. They are starting to come to recognize, because you've spoken to demons who have called you by this demonic name. But you're getting to a point where you kind of have to recognize that, like, you are dead. This demon is infesting you, and you have to make a choice before something becomes very permanent and you get, exercised, and perhaps find that you don't exist after that process. But I think that's probably where your amulet is kind of leading things here. And I think this is a solid time to step away for a little bit of a break. We'll come back after 15 minutes if you have any other thoughts. I don't want to pigeonhole you in what you have to do, because that is a magical item that you just picked up, but it's something that has had a slow influence on you. And I just want you to have some time to think about whether you like want it versus recognizing, going to a powerful cleric and perhaps spending some of that cash that you earned to have somebody like cure you of what's happened might be a viable way to like fully take your character back, kind of thing. So yeah, if you're still hanging out here, Loopy, like when we take a break, we kind of just wait for everyone to get back. If that is before like 15 minutes goes by, we jump back into it before then. If it's after, like otherwise, we just normally take 15-minute breaks is like kind of the longest here. But we're gonna take a break here. Everybody step away. If you have any other thoughts, hopefully we will be jumping back in where we've got a little bit more of a fleshed out story, and I think downtime will be over with, and you guys should have your level 6 characters.
I'm back whenever you guys are.
Have you kept track by chance of how much you've donated to the Order of Naira?
Just under like 3,500 gold. The goal is like 10,000.
Hello, I'm back.
Excellent.
So I think when I get to 10,000, I'm gonna switch from chaotic neutral to chaotic good. But maybe something bad happens before them, and I go chaotic evil. You never know. I might go the route of Malchin.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about that. Me trying to cure myself, because the flaw I got from the amulet, like, does it hinder me? Like,
Here's the thing. I feel like there is solid evidence for you would always find it incredibly difficult, because effectively you can't bring attention to the amulet. I think the difference is especially as we now like fast forward like a month. I think you've got like 2 or so months with this where you can start to kind of get the conclusion that there's way to talk about it without like referencing it kind of thing. So you're almost like, you could go to like Seraph inside of the group and Seraph, I have this friend who wears a particular object, and it is very difficult for them to talk about the object, but it hurts their very being, and it even speaks to my friend, the object, and tells him to do terrible things my friend would never do on his own. But it compels him. And I wonder if there was an object like this, because it's on my friend. There's an object on my friend, compels him to do things against his will. If there was any way that your divine connection might be able to help this friend of mine, who is definitely not me. That's just one of those things that I feel like over time you would find ways that somebody who's actually living with that necklace on them would learn that you could find ways of talking about it. And then also the flaw is not necessarily a like absolute imperative. I think a lot of it comes down to where you think there are truly like life threatening sort of moral imperatives about this is where I draw the line. I would rather die than preserve my own being if that's the cost.
Mountain, are you thinking about getting rid of the amulet and like trying to get cured?
Well, yeah, he's definitely thinking that. He also thinking he's alive because of the amulet. What happens when he gets rid of it?
Yeah, do we know anything about the origins of the amulet before the orc girl had it?
You guys could go to the Delver Square Library and speak to the librarian and do, I'd say it's just kind of like an intelligence check. You could do Arcana or History. I think that's probably the best way to say you guys could kind of search for it and see what you can find.
All right, I'm gonna give him bardic inspiration if I can.
I feel like this is one of those things that bardic inspiration doesn't really work like across an entire library adventure. I guess that is kind of the weird way you like inspire him to go down the right aisle. Oh, what is it, a D8 right now? Your inspiration?
Yeah, it's a D8, and then what did you say? A history check?
Yeah, I said it's up to you guys. When I give off multiple checks, it's purely for you to decide which one you'd like to be doing. But history or intelligence, which is history anyways, yeah.
Okay, so I
Arcana.
have that. Oh, go ahead.
So it's history or arcana are both intelligence checks.
Okay, so it's same modifier. I have 18 on that one.
Oh, my bad. Whose roll did I see? Who rolled the 17? That was yours?
Yeah, I'm only +1.
Gotcha. And you were thinking history. Mauchin, do you want to roll? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm thinking history as well. It's intelligent, yeah. Let's see. But I get the inspiration for this?
Yeah, you can take the inspiration.
Not 20 and a 7, so 27.
Good. There's probably not too much information I was willing to give if you didn't get pretty much like a maximum. So I think the biggest thing that you're gonna kind of pick up is that there's not necessarily a whole lot always kept. about what different people are finding at different times. There's not necessarily a whole lot of information to be seen about demonic presences. And I think part of that you might pick up from is the recognition that the Knights of the Pale, the same group that kind of eradicated like the Pythonese house, often finds demonic incursions, and part of what they do is effectively trying to like close those wounds to remove the demons from this realm in whatever means kind of comes to. So there's definitely kind of a lack of information about some of those things. And maybe it's simply that, like the librarian, but different sources kind of keep leading you almost towards the Knights of the Pale. They are a place to go, not necessarily because they are going to share knowledge, but to kind of like surrender yourself and give in and see what you walk out as afterwards. That's part of what you might come up with from there. I think most of all, though, with this particular amulet, you might find that there is indeed a record of some delver finding a pretty similar kind of description wise necklace. And this delver died in an accident weeks later after kind of bringing this necklace up to the surface from underneath Tolis. This delver, Kieran, died weeks later. And that's kind of where some of these notes just kind of disappear on it. You then hear a description of a noble from the Balcazar house, one of the girls being seen at a show in the old town at the theater. I think it's called the Dueling Blades. But one of the Balcazar daughters is seen at a theater wearing a similarly described necklace, pendant like that. And then you've got like around a year or so until there's kind of the hmm, I would say that's when maybe you can kind of recognize when the orc Tor Tyrion Tor. God damn it. Tyrion Cran, that was his last name. Before Cran basically started his business with the Balcazars. And that's when Tyrion Cran became kind of like a crime lord. So what I'm kind of saying is that there's two different kind of references to this object as a thing found by a Delver. The Delver died. It was seen on a Balcazar, and then Tyrion Cran came up, like 3 years ago, and you guys killed his daughter with it. But I think those are kind of the breadcrumbs that you have. None of it is terribly conclusive, but it also tells you what you kind of already knew. If there's crime in the city, there's a solid chance it goes through the Balcazars. It would appear that that necklace was a Delver's, a Balcazar's, somebody who worked for the Balcazars, and then his daughter. Does that kind of answer like what you were looking for?
Yeah, that gives us a couple of leads.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that Balcazar arc, and that they like even questioned us about it, that they were looking for it.
Oh, and wasn't it Lenek Cran who was the father of
Oh,
the?
my bad. Maybe his younger brother was Tyrion. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was all on memory though.
Yeah, that's right. Tyrion was his brother. Linek was his daughter.
No, Lenek was the father.
Oh wait, they were the brothers. Linek and Tyrion.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Malchin? Do you want to try to like go to a cleric? Obviously, I just don't know how much I can actually do with Seraph.
Technically, Seraph would be level 6 now. You guys don't have to like play your alternative characters to get them at similar levels. Is 6 high enough to have greater restoration? I feel like he needs at least level 8. Because I think at present you're kind of limited to you could attempt a lesser restoration and kind of see like what kind of information that might teach you.
Well, I could do lesser restoration already with Jinx. I can use the staff for that.
Oh, right.
So, I think I can't remember. Like revivify is what I was thinking with Seraph, because if like Malchin suddenly like died, if we like took the amulet away from him, that we could like bring him back to life. That's what I was thinking. I don't know if there's like other angles too.
I mean, revivify is definitely a solid thing to kind of come to the realization of is that it may be important to be able to do that.
I can't remember how high up you have to be for greater restoration. I feel like it might be a level 5 spell.
I'm almost 99% positive it's level 5 spell, so I think you need either level 7 or level 8 to even get that. I think at level 6 you've got level 4 spell slots.
Isn't it? Sorry, like cleric, isn't it like level 9 for fifth level spells? 7 for fourth, I think. Not 100% sure.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same boat. I'm not entirely sure, but it is a higher level spell than you guys are going to have access to. But it doesn't change that you guys have connections within the church. Like the Knights of the Pale are military order versus the church is, a holy order. Um, they're like non-militant caring for the flock of Lothian, whereas the Knights of the Pale are definitely like, I mean, for what it's worth, they're quite literally fanatical. While you guys consider though, like what else you might be doing there, Malchin, when you are doing research about this, I'm going to have it kind of attacking you again in a similar way where I want you to consider why are you searching? Any answers you could desire, I would give to you, for we are one. You cannot be rid of me any more than I could be rid of you. What power? What wealth? What would you like? I'm just curious. Would you give in? Do you have a price? Do you have a power? What would you care for, Malchin?
I mean, Malshin's. Yeah, he wants to be a captain of his own ship, sail the seas, be like the pirate up to it in Wesley. I feel like he could be tempted with that.
You would choose to wander. Have you not felt connection to this land? Is not it so important why you gave up that life? Are you not destined to open the gate? I must be here. I cannot leave. But you could pass me on, and you can have your vessel. If I gave you a larger, but like a smaller, like large vessel, like a skiff, I feel like. I think a galleon is probably like hundreds of people. But if I gave you like a skiff or something that has like 50 or 60 people, would you take a skiff for giving that amulet off to someone else?
That is tempting. Just trying to sure that I get skiff. That in context here.
My bad. Yeah, just kind of a like a smaller vessel. Think Viking longboat kind of thing.
I mean, I think he's gonna bargain with the voice. Just like, can I get like a schooner? I think that's the word for it.
I think for all intents and purposes, that fits into the vague idea of what I was getting at. Those do not seem large like a galleon. Some of them seem to have about 40 or 50 people on there. I would say that kind of fits what I would say. This night, go into the warrens. Find a child of 15. Take the amulet and drive it into their chest. And I will give you your vessel. And you will be free. And you will have your vessel. So you have this offer to kill a child and basically put them under the control of this demon, and you'll get a sailing vessel that you've wanted. And this is basically the bargain that is made to you while you're finding all of the research that basically tells you like some of this amulet's history in Dolus. On that level of it's got like death and kind of intrigue happening, the rise of the crowns, the fall of the crowns, and eventually making your way to you while you are feeding on people. Do you have other thoughts? Are you going to give into it and gain from the amulet? Are you going to go forward with seeking out one of the priests of Lothian that you all know, either Brother Fabius in the Guildsman district or Brother, I can't think of his name, in Midtown? Or you could find somebody that you guys don't know as well. Was that a roll to see what you did?
Yeah, because I was kind of torn on what he's doing. So yeah, um, he's not gonna let it show because Jinx is still with him. But yeah, he's definitely considering that offer. That seems very tempting. He's gonna take it.
All right, so you go forward with it. This is where 100% like we'll go forward that you can decide what this means for Malchin. Whether he's still an adventurer or not, whether he's doing other things or whatnot, that is up to you. But there is going to effectively be a moment where, upon like stabbing into and killing this kid, a like line of like writing almost kind of extends out of your hand and like crosses into the amulet in like through the blood. And as the kid like doesn't really breathe but comes back to, muscles moving, eyes opening back up, and you see that there's like a blank body now that is being filled with this consciousness. You watch as that same like line of text is almost like scrolling off of your flesh on its way over onto this boy. And by the time you feel this weight lifted from you, you see that there's just scrawlings all over this boy in like red ruins. And you can see like their eyes are just clouded over white, but they stare back at you with a sensation that feels all too real. And you hear the voice of Desraumal. This is a new feeling. But you have your vessel, you have your crew. And it just kind of reaches across to you. What do you imagine the vessel of Malchin would be named?
I think he's gonna name it the wager.
Gotcha. So when he like reaches over to you, it's like you have your your vessel, you have your crew. You need only walk down to the docks and find the wager is waiting for you.
I don't think Martian would say anything to him. Just like give him a nod and start moving towards the docks.
So potential little bit of a twist here. You can definitely decide whether Malchin is staying around in Tolis or continues off. There are certainly little things where you guys could venture elsewhere, but if Malchin's fully going for, the sailor's life, that doesn't necessarily mean he's waiting around to see. So you are welcome to consider those things, and perhaps if you want time to, anything else that we would do today, you could do with Geo? Gale. I don't know why Geo came to mind, but Gale.
Yeah, because I think, yeah, with that he's probably already taken all his stuff as he went to do that. So probably left the spare just because it doesn't really want it with him. Cursed things. But otherwise, yeah, I don't think he would stay very long. Definitely feeling a bit guilty about taking that deal and ashamed. But yeah, he's definitely sailing away.
Plot twist.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely not how I expected this session to go.
So yeah, that's definitely one of the big things that we were going to regardless be dealing with, was kind of how that amulet affects like some of the things you guys are doing. It's definitely a high cost item, um, because of what power it contains, and in many ways, it effectively is the type of thing where you could kind of get effectively like a wish spell kind of thing out of it. So creating a boat almost out of nowhere was 100% in line for what that always kind of could have been. Everything else of that was just part of the actual twist, just coming to light. So hopefully we'll see Malchin again. We'll just have to kind of see how things turn and twist, and perhaps maybe you'll feel like Malchin thinks less of the decision, or perhaps he thinks more of the decision. But we shall see. For now, can I assume then that you'll be playing Gale, or did you have another character in mind that you just want to roll with until we actually have a final solution on who they are?
No, I think I would just play Gale then. Yeah.
Gotcha. So, I think one of the other things that's going down is eventually Nephrinel is going to get back to you guys, as she was effectively at work when you first went to the Pythonese house. I think you would maybe, yeah, at first she doesn't really like come around after you guys get out of the Pythonese house like that next day, and you're kind of coming back to the streets. You have like one day where you're at the Goblin House and you just never really see her kind of come through until maybe later that week on like a Wednesday or a Thursday. Neferndel comes by and you just kind of have this weird sense of like she's almost just being kind of sour about what you guys did, until there's like a moment where Neff kind of like holds up one of the newspapers and they're saying the tower or the spire has been causing earthquakes. Something horrible is happening in the Bane Warrens. And she just kind of has like a few different like moments in like a few hours of time where you guys are at the Goblin House, where she just has these little like spiteful kind of like lines about like the spire and like the newspapers, like the earthquakes in Old Town, and surely it has nothing to do with you guys like going there and basically like taking out these like objects of power. But otherwise, she's not really around too much for like a week or two, and eventually getting closer to where we would be like at in real time here. You just kind of have noticed that Neferndel has been actively not like following you around, Jinx. She's no longer kind of like acting like an innocent follower who just wants to learn. When she's around, there's usually kind of like a spiteful tone. And eventually it kind of comes up, like say 2 weeks ago, where she's just been hanging around with another group of friends. And she kind of says it in a way where it's like, we're kind of better than you because these are friends my age. She's like not following around people to mentor. She's like around people who she feels a little bit more equal to, kind of thing.
On one other thing that definitely we would want to do is to get that chest for the key. I don't know if we'll wait to do that till Justin comes back or
The chest that started this all?
that's the one.
So, when you open the chest, there are 4 items inside of there. Well, 4-ish. There is a +1 shield that has fire resistance as well. A +1 flail that can deal additional fire damage with a bonus action. A wand of fireballs, and then 50 flasks of alchemist fire.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, I can certainly see why they locked it up so tight.
We also have at some point in time to deal with the eyeball chaos tech.
That's technically on Seraph, right? Wasn't that one of the side things you guys did?
Yeah, it's technically on Sarah.
Did you have any thoughts on what you wanted to do there?
Not in particular. I kind of just thought of it because I was thinking how sweet that shield would be on Sarah. But I would definitely want to know more about it and what it does, if that's possible.
Chaos Tech isn't like magic. Like on some level, basically what you would know that does is it is some sort of sight. It's like an eyeball. But what that ends up becoming, there's not really it's not the same sort of system as with magical items. So somebody's potentially gonna be pulling out an eyeball if they want to find out what that does. Um,
Okay, I got you. So it could be like night vision. It could be like +1 to hit with ranged weapons. It could be like anything.
yeah, you're kind of limited to like recognizing that it has some eye-like function, but you just don't necessarily know. But that's kind of like what Chaos Tech kind of gives you is like there's a certain sense where they are mechanical replacements for physical flesh and bone that augment you, but you never really know what they're gonna do. And you never really know the costs until you've already kind of installed it, type of thing. The difference is you guys have come across some items that are like chaos tech adjacent. Like the singing bowl had a lot of like different abilities, but it was more to like power and activate chaos tech than necessarily that it was in particular.
And okay, that makes sense. So yeah, I had to test like before to hold on to it to like fight its temptation or whatever. Is that like a regular thing? Like, do you have to do that like once a week, or how does that work?
I feel like I had you do that because you physically touched it versus if you stored it somewhere, like had it in like a wrapping, it's going to be less of an actual temptation. But I do think there's a solid reason to say if you think Seraph is tempted by that, then I think you would definitely roll for it. But I think Seraph is wise enough to know, like, if you don't want to be tempted by it, you just have to not touch it too. But if he's actually tempted by it, like himself, then that's your own. You know what I'm trying to say there? The demon, the potential consciousness inside of the cast tech is only affecting you when you're physically in contact with it.
Yeah, I got you. Seraph definitely wouldn't be tempted by it. He will be tempted by that shield though. But I mean, it probably makes sense to wait till Justin's back and then just try to figure out who wants what.
Yeah, mean, I don't think anybody uses a shield other than Seraph. I think it might be a question about whether he wants like the +1 flail. The wand of fireballs, I feel like could go to anybody, but that's just a question more than anything about who it can be most useful to kind of go to.
Who needs wand of fireball when we've got Gale?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say no to a wand or fireball. So I can throw out more fireballs.
Yeah, I mean, that's not necessarily a bad idea, but I would 100% normally suggest you consider somebody who can't use magic or doesn't excel at having a ranged attack. That's where some of those items are the best, is for people who can't do it.
Yeah, we definitely have some pretty nice equipment. And then also, if we're gonna have a new player too, there's potential for him to take stuff as well. So yeah, we can definitely sort all that out next week. I don't think it really matters right now.
So, getting closer to where this is kind of into real time, you've had Neferndel kind of stepping back a little bit from things, seemingly kind of salty about you guys going to like the Pythone's house while she had to be at work in Danbury's. And eventually she starts to kind of talk about this new group of friends that she has. And eventually you all start to notice that, like, she's not around most nights, that she kind of like disappears off and is hanging around with her other friend.
Fucking traitor.
So when she does show up, she does still kind of like spend like a little bit of time around, but not often. And you guys start to hear her talking about the Brotherhood of Tullus. And you might pick up a few names that she kind of mentions as like her 3 or 4 friends that she's hanging around with the most, as Scaris, Jamil, and Amica. And one night, you guys are just going to kind of pick up that she says something about the Brotherhood of Tollus, and they're planning on meeting up at the Rat's Nest.
And do we know anything about this Brotherhood of Tullus?
Um, roll a do another history. Yeah, just history probably.
10.
8.
Can
Oh no.
you all think of any other brotherhoods that you've come in contact with recently?
Oh wait, sorry. Not sure if it would have changed anything, but it's a 13. I forgot to add my intelligence modifier.
Gotcha.
Seraph and Gale, didn't we like raid the Brotherhood temple?
Do you remember what their name was, Chris?
Yeah, I'm trying to find where I've written down. If I've written it down. No, we gone after like the Ebon Hand. with Seraph and Gale.
That's the one I put you two as, is going into the Ebon Hand.
Was that the Brotherhood though, or was that the Order?
I think the only order that Gale at least has uh, encountered before is like, what was it? The Order of the Golden Sun, the mercenary order.
So I would say each of you has a solid reason to consider that somewhere recently you remember coming across the name of a brotherhood. And it makes you have that kind of something's on the tip of your tongue, but you can't think of it kind of feeling. But at present, I don't think either of you have the like point on it to remember exactly what it is. You're just in that kind of lost feeling almost.
That was like perfect description of the actual feeling I'm having right now. Was the sun one? Was that the one where they have like the cult and they're talking about the sun babies, or is that different?
Oh, the Golden Sun was like the mercenaries guarding uh Vaughn.
Okay, what was the sun babies? Or yeah, that's them, right? That's the same people.
Oh right, yeah. Had that thing that we're doing with
Okay,
Vaughn.
interesting. Yeah, so I can't think of anything specifically other than that. And the one that was getting ready to raid the castle was the knights of the what was it? The Knights of the Pale?
Indeed.
So yeah, I got nothing. So what? Does she like make it known to us like pretty clearly that she's going to this thing, or is it like we kind of like overhear her, or is she like inviting us?
It felt like it was more passively aggressive in mentioning it just to make sure, like, look at my new cool friends, how much better than you they are.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a solid way to look at it. Is it's just another one of the things that she's almost like spitefully bringing up, kind of thing.
Damn, they're trying to steal our NPC. We got to get her back.
So I think Jinx would probably have the best feel for where this place is because it's effectively right off of Tavern Row to the west of Delver Square, inside of Midtown here. And the Rat's Nest is just what is it? It's like one street off of Taverns Row kind of thing. You know, maybe in this like clusterfuck over near like 188 and 189, where you just have a whole bunch of stuff just really tightly packed in together. One of them is the Rat's Nest there. And you've basically heard that Neferndel is going to be going sort of later today. Do you all have any thoughts about like what are you gonna try to do to like win Neferndel's favor back?
Oh, well, I think I would try to convince her. I'm not going to use any like spells or anything on her, but we definitely like show up and hang out with her friends and try to like make it clear that like we're more entertaining and fun, and hopefully she gets over her petty little anger.
I think
Well, I
Gil.
mean, like,
Sorry,
well, what are you thinking with Gail?
I was thinking like if like Jinx told him that was the plan, he was gonna. Oh, maybe you should try apologizing. She does seem quite upset with you. Apologizing never hurts.
Yeah, so along that lines, part of what I was going to ask is, do you actually want to speak to Neferndel before trying to like find her at this place?
No, I think Jinx would be more likely to do it like publicly. Because he's like, let me show everybody that we're way more fun, way cooler. We're the best adventuring group in town. We die pretty much all the time. So I think I would want to like, tell some tall tales, hang out at the bar. It's like when you run into your ex in a public place and like you want everybody to have a great time around you. So they're like, oh fuck, what did I think? It's kind of like that. Even though, Jinx and Neffy are just friends. But also, he does want the best for her too. So after meeting her friends, if she still chooses to go that route, I think he's cool with that too.
Gotcha. So when you all kind of head over and you're like walking down Tavern Row and eventually kind of see this side street where the rat's nest is, you guys can head down that little alley and start to walk towards the rat's nest.
Yeah, I've been to this place quite a few times. It's not the nicest, but it's cozy in its own way.
So while you're walking down this alley, oh, I think it might actually be 186 on that map or 185. But regardless, while you're walking down this alley, you're kind of heading down an alley with like a big long building on one side and then like two small buildings on your left side. The one building that you get to first is the rat's nest, and then it has like another building connected to it at its back. But the entrance to the rat's nest is um yeah, just inside of the alley on like that left kind of corner. And you can just kind of like walk up to it. There's a few people down in the alley, but you guys can head on in. And the waitress is, I believe, Adrona. And then behind the bar, you have the owner is Arvith.
Oh,
Oh,
or
and my bad.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Nara and Codheel is what I have in my notes. My apologies. I'm not sure what I just gave you there. Yeah, so when you walk in, you see kind of like a tavern of like 9 or 10 different tables with a bar kind of towards the back. And there's just a young lady who's probably about like 24 or so walking around to the last like 3 or 4 tables at this like kind of like 8 o'clock or so hour. There's like, just a couple random people in here. And she kind of looks up to you all and she'll just nod. You can sit where you would care to. I'll be over with you in a few moments. My name's Kadil. Please let me know whatever you care for. And then you can kind of see as she like looks back towards a man who's like behind the bar. And again, that's gonna be, damn, still messed up her name. Her name is Nara, and she points to the owner who is Kadil.
And do we see Neffy anywhere?
Inside of here, you will not see Neferno. No.
And it is the time of the alleged meeting.
Yeah, you are almost positive you heard them say 8 o'clock at the rat's nest.
So yeah, I guess when the bartender comes back, I would order up some drinks. Try to be like nice, persuasive, pass a couple gold her way, and say that I was here to meet my friends. I think you know exactly which meeting I'm talking about. I don't see much else going on here, so you would direct us, please.
Make a perception or insight check. Your choice of which.
It's an 8 for perception.
Gotcha. She smiles a little bit to you. I'm sure I don't know. Do you see your friends here? Are any of them already arrived?
Oh no, actually, I just sort of assumed there was like a back area for like important meetings. You know what I mean? I'll give it like the wink.
Make a persuasion now for me.
19.
Oh, honey, you. She kind of like leans over, like, oh, honey, you forgot. It's the back room, is what you needed to ask for. But she kind of like brings up her voice a little bit more. You're welcome to take those drinks back to when you would like. And she like ushers you kind of towards the front door, and she'll like walk you over towards the door, and she's just back down the alley. Can just continue a little bit past.
Appreciate you. For a man that's good with his words, I'm not always good at finding them. And I'll pass her a couple gold for that.
Well, thank you very much. You all have whatever you're doing a good evening, and thank you. And she'll like just kind of like watching for a second, and just r- un- can just and you'll see. Let me get perception checks from both of you, please. What's your modified end result, Justin?
I have 14.
I have a 10.
She like points you down, and as she kind of is like describing something, she just kind of like catches herself, and she just stops talking. You can tell like mid breath, mid saying something to you. She stops talking, and she just kind of like almost like goes back as if her mind just like reset, and she's going back about a normal like waitressing task at that point. And you just hear kind of the door kind of like close a little bit behind you, and you just catch for an instant somebody on top of the roof to the right of you, like up and to the right. You just see like a head kind of like peep out, and you almost like catch the flash of eyes before they seem to disappear back, behind the actual like scaffolding of the roof. Like scaffolding's the wrong word. The like corner of the roof creates like almost like a wall that they can look over. So they're like looking over this edge of the roof at you. You catch the little flash of their eyes right as that door closes, and then it's gone.
So wait, is this like out the window we see this?
You guys are back in like the alley when she like took you back to the front door and pointed towards the back of the alley, and she was like pointing towards something, describing where to go, and then she went back inside.
Okay, okay, I got you. So can I ask her something actually before she leaves? Like the way you said that she kind of like cut off her speaking. Can I kind of go with that a little bit?
She's already gone, so you could go back inside.
Okay, I just didn't want to cut you off, but basically, like when you were saying that, I was hoping to like stop her and just ask her, like to try to pry how many people were down there, and then see if I could get her to like bring a round of drinks in like 10 minutes or 5 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to actually interrupt me if you're trying to say something in time, because you guys always have to speak up, because I would always rather have you guys saying something than me continuing on. I try to leave breaks, but I also want you guys to just make a signal or whatever. Um, yeah, so you could kind of go back in, like opening back up the door, and when you go to ask her how many people are back there, uh, um, you all are meeting, and I could bring drinks. I've been asked not to interrupt. I'm not supposed to be there. You guys rented the back room, and you wanted the back room. That's all I know of.
All right, no worries. I didn't mean to make any problems for you. Just thought it would be a pleasant surprise if you showed up in about 5 to 10 minutes with a round of drinks for everyone.
I could have them prepared, but I believe you would have to come back for them.
No worries, no worries. Don't worry about it then. We'll figure something out, or I'll be back to grab them. All right, that's fine. It's not a big deal at all.
So if you head back out into the alley, you guys have just like the long alleyway of a building to your right that you spotted the person was on top of. They are no longer in view. The alley to your left continues on to the end of this building, and then there's a door. And then right after that, there's a door in a small kind of like fenced in area that's just like a 5 foot fence, and then there's a balcony over top of that, but otherwise that like double that 2 level building continues on. So that building, the one behind the rat's nest, has a second level that the rat's nest doesn't have, and that one continues on for another 50 or so feet before it goes to, like the corner right around where like Cam Street is there. But it looks like from where you're at that there are 2 doorways. One to the building that the rat's nest is in, and one kind of part way down into that little fenced in area.
Well, I mean, unless you want to like try to see who's on the roof, I would think just go for that downstairs area, the one that she like led us to.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
But I mean, I'm assuming we would like discuss obviously that there was like somebody up on the roof probably scouting or doing like lookout.
Yeah, I mean, it's if they had rented to be alone, they probably have someone keeping a lookout if they're trying to be discreet. Don't want anyone bothering them.
Of course, and I mean, we don't really mean any harm here. Got to make sure that Neffy's not getting in with the wrong type of people. Once we have a good look and everything's savvy, she's fine. We'll be on our way.
So you continue on into the doorway into like that fenced in area.
Whichever one that the waitress like led us to, is that the fenced-in area? I thought you said it like went downstairs.
She was pointing towards like the rest of the alley and then stopped. She never led you to a door. She was pointing towards a door, like telling you where to go, and then stopped. So you really would have only gotten much more than like a sense of a direction that she was about to say something about going down towards the, and then she stopped and she like walked away.
Well, yeah, I mean, so I guess we would just go down that way and see what looks like it would be the way to go.
So the first door leads into what would seem as the same building as the rat's nest. The second door leads into that fenced in area.
So yeah, the first door, the back room. I'm guessing, hopefully, theoretically.
Gotcha. So you can open up this door and you'll basically find yourself like inside of a small, like 15 or so by 15-foot space. There's a little bit of kind of like cut meats and things like to make, say, like a stew or something. There's some kind of like dishes of different tankards that are like soaking, some that seem like they're drying off. Uh, Takes maybe 15 or 30 seconds for something to kind of happen, like if somebody arrives. But what's your initial thought when you kind of like walk into what appears to be like a small kitchen with like a stew and a bunch of tankards kind of washing?
It doesn't seem like the type of place somebody would rent out. It would be the wrong door. We don't see any like employees or like anywhere that you would go from here.
You've got a door towards like the front of the place and a door kind of straight ahead on the opposite side of the room.
I guess I'll go ahead over like kind of sneakily and check that next door.
Gotcha. The door towards the front of the place or the door like straight ahead of you?
No, no, if I'm assuming we're in like a kitchen now behind and there's just like a second door into the kitchen. I'm assuming the first door leads into like the main part of the restaurant and I'm looking for like the other door as like a potential like back room office type situation.
Gotcha. Roll a stealth for me. You're just gonna end up excellent. Yeah. Like opening this door kind of straight ahead of you. You'll see that largely it's just like a dry storage. It has some like cooling qualities to it. But in the long run, it is effectively dry storage for the rat's nest. And by the time you kind of like take a quick look, you do hear ahead of time like the footsteps of the approaching somebody coming back here. You have a solid reason to understand that it is going to be the owner, Cadil, kind of like walking back into this area.
Yep, wrong door. Let's get out of here. So yeah, I would just say we go back out and like go check the other way.
Gotcha. So heading back out towards the other direction here, or towards that second door, you might see from like the back of the alley, there's somebody who's like on the street level, and they kind of are looking around the corner from the opposite end of the alley when you two come out of the kitchen door. You don't see anybody on top of the building again, but you just have again just like this flash of somebody who seems to have been kind of looking in that direction, and then the moment they spot you, they've perhaps like tried to duck back out of view. But you're basically 5 feet from this next door that leads into that little fenced-in area.
All right, so we'll go that route this time.
Gotcha. So inside of the fenced-in area, there's not actually anywhere for you to enter. You can see a bunch of boxes are stacked up on like the northeastern side of this small, like 10-foot by 15-foot space. It's just a little bit of a break between these two buildings. It's covered by this fence. and it's basically just this small area. It seems like it's got some like produce boxes and whatnot stacked up, but there is a balcony above you with like a 4 foot or so like banister. So if you climbed up on the boxes, you could get to that balcony and you could potentially climb into that building from this like second floor entrance on the balcony. But otherwise, it appears this is not an entrance.
What you thinking? Enter through the balcony? I don't really see much of a place to go unless we climb all the way on the roof and ask that guy.
I've never been to this rat's nest before today, and it doesn't really seem practical to enter a back room through a balcony. I think we're missing something.
I couldn't agree more. So how hard would it be to get up on the roof where we saw that movement at?
Vaguely same idea. Like, yeah, from this side to get up on like the equal level, it would be pretty easy to like climb up those boxes, climb up on top of the balcony, and like you're then on that same level just across the street from it. And that would be unaccomplishable but long jump between the roofs. Or if you went to the other side, you might be able to climb up like a little like water drain hose or some such, but you could potentially climb your way up on that other side as well.
All right, I'm gonna go the more eccentric acrobatic route, and yeah, I'll go that way.
So describe to me what you're doing.
So I'll sort of like use the boxes to get up to like that second level, and then like get like some momentum together, and try to do like a little bit of like a wall walk jump across to the other building.
Gotcha. Let me get an athletics or an acrobatics from you then.
It's a 9.
Roll a dexterity saving throw.
22.
Gotcha. So leaping across from roof to roof, you do fail to make it all the way across. But when you like get to the other side, you're like slamming into the, I guess, like gutter for lack of a better word. Like you're slamming into like the roof and able to kind of like grip onto and prevent yourself from just falling directly to the ground. But it's basically the kind of thing that you're halting some of your momentum before losing your grip and falling to the ground. But in the long run, you like slam down into a bunch of like wet, kind of gooey trash and just like slam into the ground. You're right below it. You failed to get across. I'm not going to do any damage to you at present, as you kind of like saved yourself with the actual like saving throw there.
Goddamn case of the Mondays over here.
Yeah, you kind of look at it like maybe I misjudged that. Maybe it was 15 feet instead of 10 feet, and it was a little bit longer to jump. But you could climb up from here, and again, you could just do an athletics to try to make a climb check.
It's a
Gain
natural 1.
inspiration back. Because you're not going to even get too much further off the ground as you find like the stucco is just like not quite grippy enough for you to find anything like between bricks. It just has like a smooth outside of like stucco slash like mud kind of protecting the outside of this house.
What is Malchin doing the whole time this is happening? Sorry, Gail.
I mean, he's just standing like down on the ground, looking as you climb up, jump, fail, climb up again, jump, fail. And just yeah, there's gotta be a better way to do this.
I hope you're enjoying yourself. I hear you over there giggling. So I'm gonna like regroup for a minute and have a cigarette. I mean, I can't be the least athletic person to ever attempt this. So, do we go for this second story entrance, or should we climb up to this roof here?
I guess we don't have much else to do. Just climb up and see what we can find.
I see a map being revealed.
Yeah, it's just not perfect because it doesn't really have a focus on the alley. I think the alley is meant to be 10 feet. I still don't think you failed the jump, but so my bad. I feel like you guys made the recognition that perhaps like you're not going about this the correct way, but I kind of miss exactly where you were thinking.
Yeah, sorry, it's coughing up a lung here. Yeah, I think Gail was like suggesting like after seeing those amazing failures, like just going up on the balcony and like see what we can find inside there instead. It's like don't have much else to go on, so just go in and see what we find.
Gotcha. The balcony itself is like a little kind of garden, like a rooftop garden. So there's the story you're on. There's still a roof above you because it is like a second story of this back building. But there's a door to like the northeast, and it has a single window that kind of looks into an otherwise dark location with the little bit of I don't know what moon phase we're in currently here. But with the littlest bit of moonlight, you could, well, even Jinx can just make light too. Once you notice it is effectively dark inside, you guys could shine enough light in through the window to basically recognize that this room in front of you has a small table, a staircase that leads down to the street level, three doors on the northeast side, and an open walkway to like the northwest. Uh, Effectively, let's say you can see that from the room in front of you. But you can't really make out too much more because again, you're just like in the dark looking through an otherwise like not necessarily perfect window.
And is that a door right next to the window?
Indeed.
Can we check that? Is it unlocked?
It is indeed unlocked. You can open it and walk on in.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
As we move in, can Gail just gonna like try to keep an ear out and see if he hears anything when they enter? If there's any noise from people talking or moving about or something like that.
Why are your tokens so gigantic?
Some huge friggin' guy. So we got a serial smasher here.
Oh, the
Most of
map's
them are.
just that poorly distorted right now. My bad. I didn't really like set up this map for this. I feel like I was creating this and then got into making the Call of Cthulhu stuff. I feel like that's kind of sized properly is going down to like a 2.5 footer. Yeah, those look a little bit better. So the gridding is definitely absolute trash on this map. That's what I now know. So you walk in, and you'll see that there's almost like a little like relaxation space. It's not quite a kitchen, but there is a hearth inside of it with a couple of benches along the walls. I have no clue what that room is supposed to be, but you can kind of see that off. You can see that off to the west of you. Um, Otherwise, let me get a perception check from Gale as you kind of like listen for anything happening or change.
That's 13.
You can make out voices in the house, and you think you hear something from outside as well. It's hard to distinguish.
Yeah, he's gonna tell James. Goes, I think I hear voices the outside. Might be on something, or we are just crashing someone's house right now.
I honestly don't really know. This is getting kind of weird now. I thought we were just kind of popping into like a hangout. Now I feel like we're breaking and entering in maybe the wrong place. So that basically like roof across the street is where we saw the person at.
Yeah, you saw one person across the street and on like the backside of the roof, and then you saw one person on street level behind the alley, basically.
Behind the alley would be like up and to the right.
I would say up and left is behind the alley, up and right is the rooftop. The person on street level is potentially like street level behind this building.
Okay, I got you. So yeah, let's go check that out. Let's go that way.
Yeah, so we should probably go out and down from the balcony.
A ninja is the perfect person who disappeared from your sight.
And we can't see anything like north west right now, can we? Or east right now. Wait, west. Like where Gale kind of is, like over into like the black area. Is there like anything to be seen there where he kind of heard the voices?
He heard the voices inside the house and outside was like the second bit of it. So there's definitely kind of like the voices should be kind of coming from both aspects almost. Two distinctly different, almost like hearings. To the northwest is just generically like Tavern Row, and specifically Runashar's Lot Street. It's like that circular street that's right between basically Taverns Row and the Delver Square. So this map just really, it's just not even like set up to show that area. That's whoops, I couldn't. It's more that it's blank than that it's like set up to like show that area is there. But there's basically just other buildings to the northwest of you here.
I got you. So yeah, I mean, I think we're on the right track to go towards where we saw the ninja.
Gotcha. So when you guys are like coming out this time, I think each of you would kind of hear that there's like people kind of like above you and on the roof that's now like northeast of you. And you kind of hear like a few like whispers from there and maybe like a little bit of a like hit or something. But you can kind of hear like there's a person or two who's talking up there. And probably pretty similar thing like across the street where you like pop out and you see somebody who like disappears out of view for a second before, well actually yeah, like what do you guys do with that initial reaction as you kind of spot them?
So how hard would it be for us to get on the roof, like of the building we're currently on, from this second level?
I mean it's not a terribly complicated like climb check for you to get up there. But it is one of those things where like you'd still have to put some effort, like hopping up onto the balcony, hopping up onto the roof.
Okay, and it's like not like a super tall building. It's like one more story. Yeah, I think I would go that route. Go up in
Yeah,
there.
it's a total of 2 stories, so, like, the top roof is what, like, say, 24 feet off the ground?
And
So, hopping up onto
if we can like hear voices up there too, I would try to make like a cool entry so I like pop up just out of nowhere on top of the roof.
gotcha, let me get an acrobatics from you.
15 total.
Yeah, so, I don't know, maybe you do something like a frog leap kinda from the banister, like, off towards, like, the northwestern side, and then, like, you use the roof to, like, leap up onto that, but basically kinda, like, popping up on that, like, northwestern side of the roof. Gail, are you trying to do anything fancy as you kinda, like, pop up onto the roof?
No, I don't think he even can do anything fancy. It's just like trying to get himself up, like the most, well, the easiest way he can get up. Like, yes.
Gotcha, so you like try to like hop up there with some crazy parkour, and Gail's just kind of crawling up like with some the struggle is real size going on, and you guys kind of like move up to this top little section here to see that there are two people, maybe like mid 20s, and they're like basically having like a conversation, like a little bit of like a bickering between them, and by the time Jinx is up there they realize like what's going on, but Gail's still kind of like trying to push themselves up onto the roof as these two like quiet down. And you'll hear from like across the other roof, the person who's been like in and out of sight says, "What are you two doing? You obviously don't belong here."
That was the person from the other roof,
Yeah, yep.
and then there's two more people like right by us.
Two people right directly in front of you, and then like kind of between you and Gail. You're almost like triangular with that one, probably.
I mean, we're here for the backroom meeting, obviously.
Roll another perception check.
17.
You see as like when you like go to call to them, do you speak back to the person who's on the other roof? Or are you just talking to the two who are closest to you?
Oh, I think I would be like saying it loud to like all three of them. If that's the person like yelling over at us.
Gotcha. So yeah, you speak to the person who's on the other roof, and you notice their eyes dart to your hands. And no, you're not. You don't have their symbol. You don't belong here. You shouldn't be going in there. We're guards. We will keep you out of there.
Where the hell is there? We couldn't even find an entrance.
All the better. There's no worries. You can still go.
And what are the two in front of us saying right now?
One of them just like nudges the other ones. We're guards.
So I'm to presume we're having a hard time taking these people seriously.
I mean, they're not like professionals. They're definitely mucking it up as far as many things go.
Look, we're not looking for any trouble or anything. We're just trying to pop in and speak to our friend for a moment, and then we'll be on our way. There's no need for any guarding around here.
You don't belong. You don't have the symbol. They're not going to want you here.
Do we see any kind of symbol on their hands or anything?
Looking over, it doesn't seem like that they've got any sort of jewelry or anything. One of them kind of like looks back up at you, the one from like across the other roof. It's like, we don't have it either. We're just guards here. We don't have any affiliation with the Brotherhood. And you'll see as the other two like look over, like, you're not. And then they kind of like quiet down just with like a little bit of like a stammer, like correcting the other one, saying, we're not supposed to say that.
Look, I don't want to get y'all in trouble or anything. I know you got a job to do, but we're going inside there. We got to speak with our friend. So, do we need to like rough you up a little bit, or do you want us to sneak past you? How do you want to do it? I don't want y'all to lose any credibility.
Rolling persuasion.
And I'm going to light up a cigarette too, like casually while this is happening. I'd say 21.
I can't impress on you enough that you shouldn't go in there so we don't get in trouble. Maybe give those two a black eye. And again, this is the one from like across the street from like the other roof. And I wasn't looking that way, and then you were gone. So it's kind of like asking you to like punch the other two or just rough them up a little bit. In the long run, like you kind of can, like neither of these two want to. You can tell these are like three like teenagers, maybe like late 15 or 16s. I'm probably playing them a little bit more inept than they necessarily should, but I can't get the idea of like Matt Damon in Team America World Police out of my mind, and they really are not professional anything. So they're not necessarily used to being criminals on the street getting beat up. They're also not necessarily used to being paid guards and doing something for a service like this. But they do kind of want to protect themselves here. And the other one from across, as you're like punching or roughing up the other two, is going to continue like, you don't have their symbols and we don't have any more of them. If you're gonna go down there, they're gonna know that you just don't belong.
So yeah, I'll just give him like a little bonk and give him a black eye or whatever, and then we'll just go down there. Is that what you're thinking, Gail?
Yeah, but I'm just figuring like Gale is just like coming up as you're finished, and you're like, going
I'm
down
like
already?
bonking them with the boomerang, and they're like letting me just hit him in the face.
Yeah, listen, what the fuck is going on?
So they basically describe to you that you can like head back in, and the meeting is basically on the ground level, like right below like the stairs where you guys were. You were like kind of standing like right above where they're meeting. They just there's not like a really like the entrance is on the opposite side, like the back side of that building, to get there. So you could walk down those stairs, or you could walk down street level and go to the back of the building.
I'm thinking just go down those stairs. And I'm gonna give those guards a couple of gold each too, for their trouble in case they lose their jobs.
What were you gonna do with the wrench? I was gonna bonk him.
Yeah, I'm notorious for my bonks. No bonking. If anybody wants to bonk anybody, you ask me first.
So you guys can start to like walk down these staircases, and you like, go around the table, and you're walking down like kind of towards the southwest, and the staircase like turns to the southeast, like following the wall of this building like below you basically. When you're walking down the first little like 5 steps of the staircase going southwest, there's not too much light, like kind of like crossing from within view. You're almost walking to like a little bit of shadow that way. When the stair hits the landing and turns to the northwest is when it starts to get a little bit of light from that room. There's like a soft flicker of kind of like candles, and you can gain a sense of, say like 20 or 40 candles rather than that there's like 2 or 3 around the room. There's a lot of candles kind of creating the light of this room, and you can kind of see the flicker as you're walking around the stair. By the time that you all get to the landing where some of that light's like striking your feet, the conversation in the room goes quiet. And by the time you guys like walk around the base of the stairs, like down to this like base level, you will basically see a table of like 7 people who are all sitting there in relatively similar garb, in that they are all wearing like black kind of cloaks and have white hoods over their head. And they just all are silent, and they're all staring at you. And there's one little gasp of
And about how many of these figures are there?
think 6 or 7.
I hope we're not interrupting anything.
Like catch a similar like glance around at your hands before like one of the figures kind of like looking back up to make eye contact. It would appear that you've arrived just in time. Welcome, brother.
And just out of curiosity, have we ever seen any like tattoos or anything on Neffy's hands?
Roll a history, or it could be a perception if your perception is better.
It's a 9.
Yeah, I'd say you can't really think of anything
I wasn't sure how we were going to be welcomed here, but I'm glad we showed up when we did. What exactly are we here for?
So the one who like kind of like stood up and like told you like you're just on time, brother. Like kind of reaches out to like shake your hand and almost like reaches for your elbow and kind of like one of those like shake your hand and like guide you this way kind of motions. We've only prepared the seating for 6 nights. I wasn't aware that we expected any more. But with you here, there's no sense in forgetting and preparing you your seats.
And have we been able to identify during this which one was the gasp slash which one is Neffy?
You could spot that there is one who's kind of like sitting almost like slightly back a little bit further, like on the opposite side of the table, where like this person was like kind of central and on the closest side to you, almost like their back was to you kind of thing. And it's just like a long table where it's kind of like three on one side and three on the other sort of situation. So right now, like the person standing, there's two people who are like craned around backwards who would have been right and left of that person. And Neffy is just like kind of like say the central of the two of the three on the opposite side.
Do we have an idea like what kind of like ritual or whatever was happening when we arrived?
I think more than anything, you've just kind of heard voices. Didn't necessarily pick up any incantation or anything like that would give you a sense of what was actually being done. Oh, did I drop that as a token?
Yeah, because I think I accidentally dragged to it ended up on top.
It's a map now. White hooded figure is a very hard thing to Google and try to grab a token for.
Yeah, I can see why.
Do you resist the person who's kind of like trying to usher you over towards the table, Justin?
No, I'll kind of go with it. I'm not really sure what's going on, honestly. So I'll go along with it. I'll listen to what these flat earthers have to say.
Well, we were just greeting our friend here and introducing them to some of the importance of freedom and democracy. We are the Brotherhood of Tolis, and we would like to make sure that all people are free. And you, like Garifin here, are welcome to learn such similar things. The importance of democracy, of freedom and choice. And you feel as they kind of like grasp your elbow, there's like the slightest little like prick. And for a moment, you kind of like shudder and can't help but like recoil your arm. But it also wasn't like anything either. It kind of just, you don't know what to make of it. Can you make a constitution saving throw for me?
Yeah, I'm going to use inspiration on this.
Gotcha. Solid use of advantage as like that little bit of a prick kind of like flashes through. You have a solid sense that like perhaps one of their rings or whatnot might have had some sort of delivery system, and they tried to actually like poison you or something here. Again, it's like a quick little prick, and you're trying to hide it just as much as they would appear to be trying to hide it. But they kind of like walk you over and sit you at kind of like a end position on this table.
So by passing that, like, did they know that they're like try to poison me didn't work?
The person doesn't seem to act any more odd than they have been acting, so I would say on some level you just don't know.
Okay, got you, got you. So I'm gonna say over to Gail. I mean, least we could do is hear them out. I don't think, if they're not up to any good or anything, we'll be fine. Nothing wrong with protecting ourselves, though. And I'm gonna give bardic inspiration to Gail in case they try to poison him too.
Yeah, so maybe one of the others walked over to Gale and kind of in a similar way kind of tries to usher him towards the other side. And you just hear her say, this way, brother. If you would be so kind, you can sit at the head of the table. Do you resist her?
No, I think I'll just go with her.
Gotcha. Do the same thing for me. Roll a constitution save. And you've got that inspiration if you feel the need for it.
That is a dirty 20.
So, assuming you feel comfortable with a dirty 20, you kind of feel like a similar, like odd little prick. Otherwise, it's hard to like call it much of anything. It just feels like a kind of like sharp little pain. You try to like hide any like knee jerk reaction to it, but in the long run, kind of have that similar sense of pretty sure this person tried to do something to you, and would appear that nothing was the long-term effect of it. As we all know, it has been a pleasure to have invited Curafin these last few weeks to join the Brotherhood, and on this day she was welcomed in as a full brother. And it would be our wonderful pleasure to have such a monumental day joined by, and he kind of like opens up a palm towards Jinx and like opens up a palm towards Gale to have you offer your names.
Oh, was he talking about Nephrin City got brought in today?
Hard for you to tell on that one. Let me get an insight from you.
Okay, I got you. And I would say my name.
If you're gonna say your name, I don't know if you needed to roll the insight. Yeah, there's like a moment where, like, when he says, "To welcome Curafin in," she just has like almost like does something like a sniffle kind of thing, but you kind of like get a sense of like this is Neferndel in like a tense moment where she's like almost trying to like make a recognition. This is the name that they know me by. So when you go to give your name, are you still giving the name of Jinx?
Okay, no, I won't do it then if that's what I'm getting. Like the impression that she might be like doing some kind of undercover thing or something here.
Yeah, I think that's a solid way that you could be interpreting it. At very least, just to recognize that she's basically acknowledging, like, the two times he's said Curafin, she's like made, softer but clear, like autonomic reactions that are her like saying, like, this is why it's the insight roll. That's me. So quickly, what name do you give? Jinx? Gale? Names?
I think Gale will introduce himself as I'm Win. Nice to meet you. It's a very comfortable place here.
Welcome, Win. Yes, we take pride in our location. And he like immediately looks away from Gale and he's still got his arm out like expectantly towards Jinx.
And I'm Mox, but I'm sure you already knew that if you were good at your job.
Well, Mox, we haven't been following you as of yet. But it is a pleasure to have you both join. What, pray tell, brought you into our company this evening? And he asks like with almost like an insistence, kind of like a it's like a command almost, like the authority that he kind of adds to his voice. I think you have like spells like command, like charming spells, right, Justin? With a Jinx?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so I would say on some level you immediately know like his expectancy is to now like give you an order that you should be responding like in truth to. So this is one of those things where like you can have an up and up by using similar magic to know that might have been what he expected from the prick was to gain an influence over you when he does like start to ask some of these questions.
Okay, I got you. So it's like some sort of like spell slash like poison that would like theoretically have us tell the truth. Well, I suppose you could say that it was coincidence, but it'd be more like a intuition. Just wanted to make sure that there was, well, everything's on the up and up here.
Let me get that with a deception.
29, my highest roll ever.
You kind of see like as he's like hands kind of go together and he's like manipulating like a ring that was probably on the hand that like would have like struck your elbow. You can kind of see as he's like spinning this like ring around his finger, and like you don't gain facial expressions because they're wearing again like white hoods. It's almost like as if they just like threw like rice bags over their head. They almost look like scarecrows, kind of how they sit here. Well, looking over towards Win, it would appear that perhaps we've been overly fortunate, and we have blessings beyond all blessings in this wonderful day that we celebrate the joining of Kerafin to the Brotherhood of Venom. We can welcome two more, Win and Mox. I look forward to learning more of you, and perhaps finding what you can do for the Brotherhood. So I think we're gonna kind of leave this as like a weird little place to drop off. And we'll pick up, next week with you guys basically understanding that like you've met with the Brotherhood of Venom. Neferindel seems to have joined the Brotherhood of Venom, and you guys are on their recruitment list. And we'll kind of pick up with that from there.
Yeah, I finally figured out where we heard the Brotherhood before.
Where'd you hear of it before?
The book we found, the Faceless Hate. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I recognize the Brothers of Venom.
Yeah, that charm getting a 29 is just all too perfect for a way to kind of like end things on like a big name drop there. It's like chaos cult finding like a random person who like showed up to join them. It's hard to deny that as being something that they would like all of a sudden almost like question like powers beyond us. Who are we to fight it? So it was definitely, I feel like that's a super sweet way to end what could have been such an absolute like shit show of how it like went down.
And like we have no idea what Nephew's even doing here.
I mean, it feels like
Yeah,
she's infiltrating them, but yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a weird level of like what's she doing? Like why did she necessarily react still? Just to kind of see how those things play. Well, I think that's a pretty good spot for us to leave off. Pick back up when Justin returns, and then with Loopy potentially joining us when we have like a conversation on how Loopy might mix into things. We'll kind of like get them into the flow as well and see what goes on next week. You guys are definitely still like in the heart of like what is going on with the Night of Dissolution. There are multiple demons effectively like released into the city. Even without Malchin, it's going to be something else to kind of recognize like what's going on here and there. But yeah, you guys are definitely going to have some interesting changes as like the heart of what's going on is, you know, getting deeper and deeper into like what the Night of Dissolution is.
And we should level up to 6.
Yeah, technically you were 6 here, but yeah.
Word up. Yeah, I feel like Nephew's always up to something. I mean, she had like the situation with the ogres that like got us into trouble with the chase scene, but then, obviously that led us down like a big path. So now here she is here. And did we ever see, does she have the tattoos?
There's no tattoos. When you kind of look around the room, you can start to figure out, because you guys would be here for like an hour, you can kind of figure out that the one thing that everybody seems to share in common is that they all have some sort of ring around their hand, and all of those rings seem to be a broken loop. Like it's not a continuous circle. It is like cut and like bent out of shape almost.
Yeah, very interesting. So we'll see what she's up to. This silly Nephew's at it again. So Malchin just sails off into the distance. That's it, never to be heard from again.
Well, oddly enough, some of the other little side quests that like kind of happen around the Night of Dissolution at times like have you like go around some of the like different places in the world. So I feel like it's actually might be serendipitous that randomly Malchin might be the mode of transportation, even if Chris doesn't necessarily want to play Malchin. Like I might call on Malchin as the NPC who takes you guys places.
Yeah, I mean, that's perfectly fine with me.
I think it's funny, like seeing someone's actual like price that they could be bought for. I don't know how much a boat costs, but that's exactly how much Malchin costs. One boat, please.
Yeah, I mean, to Malchin, it isn't like the cost of the boat. It's the fact that he's captain.
Oh
That
yeah, I love it. I love the idea that you were like presented with like a wish spell basically, and we're just like, yeah, okay, let's do it.
Yeah, like that whole thing stems from the amulet in the story from like Monty Cook is the source of the recipe for the drug that they make whatever it's called. for the drug that the crons were slinging.
The shrivel.
Yeah, the shrivel. So that's the whole reason why I was like, all right, one, I'm putting a fucking demon in this thing. Oh no, I think the demon actually does give them the recipe for the shrivel. But I was just like, I think it makes way more sense if the demon is just willing to give people whatever they want to gain whatever it needs. Because it doesn't give a fuck about like creating a boat. Like, as long as it gets into the hands of somebody who's more evil, like Chris was not giving into that thing. And it was one of those things where, like, 100%, that's gotta be frustrating for the demon to have somebody who's not doing evil shit. You gotta do some evil. You gotta feed on at least one human. And I definitely thought, like, if you had a cleric try to, like, cure you of it, you would die instantly. So you would need something like Revivify, but I don't think Revivify would work because it's within 30 seconds or like 5 minutes or whatever, and you died that day, weeks ago now.
Yeah, basically you would have to have the what's it called, the like other revive
It would
thing.
get to a very high level resurrection spell, yeah.
Yeah, that resurrection.
Which I don't think is necessarily impossible. You guys are getting up there as far as adventurers go. Like, you guys don't have access to those high level spells, but you definitely have allies that you've helped who 100% could cast those spells.